Welcome to Autocar Dialogues presented by Reliance General Insurance, and we're here with a panel of eminent dealers to talk about the next gen Indian consumer. The consumer is absolutely changing. The sales model is changing consequentially, and we're here to discuss what the differences are and what it means for dealers across the country. We have with us Mr. Prakash Jakhate, who's chairman of Salsar Group. We have Mr. Praveen Agadi, who's the co-founder of Nagar Shanti. We have Mr. Shivraj Parekh, who's the director of Utkal. And we have with us Mr. Afdel Abdul Wahab, who's the director of Indus Motors. So welcome and thanks for being with us on this panel. Very interesting times for the Indian automotive industry. I think not only is the industry changing, regulations are changing, and so is the consumer changing. So I think it's probably the toughest times you have seen in a long time, and it's reflected in the last year. So let's talk a little bit about last year, what it's meant for you, and then we can move on to the new age consumer. So tell us, how difficult was it to actually really go out there and sell cars in a year where there were so many changes being thrown your way?
It was really tough, madam. Last year, when the recession was on the peak, new models were being offered by the companies, discount were there in the market. So it was really tough and customer was confused. So getting new products like Kia Seltos and MG Hector, those products gained the edge in the market.
Do you think there was something that you did or could have done that would have, helped turn this very difficult time into a slightly easier one? Did you guys go out there and do things differently in this last year?
So like he said, disruptions came in the form of models being launched, which were maybe a generation ahead of the models that are available in the market today. So when you talk about the Kia Seltos or when you talk about the MG Hector, they have a host of features and design which are so differentiating that a whole lot of manufacturers got caught back, by what was being offered vis-a-vis what they had to offer. So yes, what we did and we didn't do amongst, what we did do was be a little more aggressive in the market. If we were doing 2 or 3 or 4 activations a month, we doubled that. So we try to do everything possible in terms of reaching out to the customer to get closer to him so that we could at least try and influence his or change his buying decision.
But do you think that, it's very interestingly you said that these cars are a generation ahead, yeah? So do you think that is also the case with the Indian consumer now? That, initially it was all about value and efficiency.
Absolutely.
But do you think he's looking completely at things differently? And do you think the Indian consumer's mindset has changed as to what he wants now from a car? Are you seeing that in your showrooms?
Yes, ma'am. Nowadays, people want value for their money. They want maximum features to be added in
Basically,
the
technology they want.
They want technology.
Technology and features are two of the...
Is that the case for you as well?
I think it was always value for money, but now the value for money comes in with what they were looking for was mileage and those kind of features. But today they're looking for more fancier things like
tangible features, infotainment, connectivity.
Exactly.
Yeah?
So it is again always that mindset, and it's prevailing about value for money, but yeah, the focus is on different areas these days.
Yeah. So first it was fuel efficiency and value for money. Now you want features for the same value for money is what you're trying to say.
They want features at a value for money
Add
option.
a value for money option. And so obviously this consumer is changing, and he's not only changed in the way that his mindset has changed. I think we're seeing changing ways that this consumer actually even perceives mobility. The consumer is actually looking at shared mobility. He's looking at leasing options. He's looking at mobility in a completely different way. I think the young millennial generation is not so adamant about buying and owning as they are about sharing, whether it's their vehicle, their home, or anything else. So I think that mindset is changing. And are you now having to adopt your business standards or the way you sell cars to adapt to this new age customer that is completely wanting something different to where, the car was an emotional buy? So it's no longer, there's nothing emotional for these, they don't mind if it doesn't belong to them.
If you talk about what is happening with Indus Motors, so we have started something called Indus Go, which is a self-drive rent-a-car company, exactly to that point of trying to capture that the trend of going towards less ownership feeling. We are giving cars at for people who doesn't want to own car, but at the same time want it for like that particular period, for the longer, shorter kind of a period. So we are trying to get into that, and we have been in 2 states right now, Kerala and Tamil Nadu, and we are seeing a very good response in that aspect.
Yeah, and does that change the way your whole dealership model also is, because now you're sort of hiring out cars, that whole service model for that changes, obviously the back end for that also changes. So does that mean it's the whole pattern is going to change, and we're going to see a shift in the way dealerships function, because that doesn't require as much frontage?
So right now, for example, IndusGo doesn't have one offline outlet, right? Everything's online, it's all app based, whereas the dealership is completely offline. Yes, we get some inquiries online, good amount of inquiries online, but that it's not bread and butter. Online is not bread and butter, whereas this model is bread and butter online. It's entirely different. The way it is managed, the way the operations are done is entirely different. At the same time, so it's in the short term, it is not a big impact, but we are predicting that is where the market is going, and we want to be there in that first leg of the change itself, so that we can adapt well.
Now, a lot of retail industry, wherever we see it, I mean, you see the Flipkarts and the Snapdeals, and everything seems to be going online, and shopkeepers are complaining about, nobody wants to come into their stores anymore. Do you think that's also going to happen in auto? I mean,
it will take time, madam. It will take time, because a consumer wants to have a touch and feel experience.
But your walk-ins have come down.
You see, he does his homework earlier at home, and then he walks out for buying which car, which model, which manufacturer. So this will take a time.
Basically, all the feature comparison, everything is done. They come to the showroom just for the touch and feel and see the actual
colors also.
So
in the
recently,
showroom,
our dealership had delivered a 3-wheeler, Trio electric, and it being the first delivery of an electric 3-wheeler, I personally went and met the customer, and when I asked him how he reached his final decision, he said he went online. So a 3-wheeler guy who went online, I just asked him to explain how. So he just opened YouTube and typed in the Mahindra Trio, and an entire page came up on how the Trio is doing, how customers are perceiving the Trio. So the entire process of online is relevant even to a guy who's buying a 3-wheeler, to a guy who's buying maybe a helicopter or a high-end luxury car.
So to that point, wouldn't there come a point when they can take dealerships and go show that car? Why? Because if, for example, I'm just putting it there, if a Flipkart or an Amazon buys a sample of each cars and talk to a few OEMs who is ready to go with them, maybe the new guys who come into it, and give them a dealership kind of a model, and they're there to give a touch and feel of the car. They're giving a complete product. They learned everything online, maybe through Amazon or this, and then they give the touch and feel. So,
well, we're seeing it happen in the second-hand car sales market, where everything is online. All you've done is gone and registered your car with say the OLX or the Cars 24 or whatever it is. Client has gone and shown his car there. They're taking it online to a prospective number of clients, and wherever they get the best response from. So I think his question is quite valid. Do you think that we will see that in the future, where it will no longer be a store dealer, but you will have to be an online product, where yes, maybe you'd have your samples of your 5 different variants or whatever models that you're selling, but a lot of it will be online, and a lot of the information will be imparted online. The rest of it would be, yes, that final touch feel maybe the client wanted could be like a demo drive.
Yes, madam, the same thing will happen in India, but it will take another 10 years time to come.
Citroen is doing the same thing. They are planning a smaller showroom, digital showrooms.
Okay.
Like how said, 1 or 2 models will be displayed.
Yeah.
Rest all will be just.
I think MG's done it already. They planned a virtual showroom. So
yeah.
That's because real estate value in bigger cities is so high that cost of setting up a showroom is huge. So where there's a city like Bangalore or Bombay, and you want to reach out to a huge population which is living in metropolitan areas, I mean, you have to go and build something, right? And if you build a 3,000 square feet showroom, it's not going to be viable.
So here's my question as dealers, and we've been talking about it a lot in the various panels. There's a conversation about maybe sometimes too many dealers for a certain product that's, then eating into the revenue of each other. There is also a conversation of, if I have this region, why should I have so many more in this region? But when it becomes internet and when it becomes digital, that reach is unlimited, right? So then you're not limited to your space, your area, your region. So do you think that there is a thought process, or have any of you as dealers thought about changing this whole model of business and doing it differently to what you're currently doing? Or do you think he says it's a very long way away, but I think people will need to innovate the way they're reaching out to customers because it's becoming increasingly harder.
He didn't say it's a long way. He said 10 years. 10 years is not a long way. 10 years is a
10, 15 years.
It's not a.
So anyways, most customers look at the dealership, look at the model, they know what they're getting into before they come to the showroom. Before they come to the showroom, 70% they're in their head decided, okay, I'm going to get this product. And then the rest depends on how you convince him and the touch and feel factor, which is the test drive.
So
you can't take that away from the buying process.
In essence, I think the dealer is going to become a distributor in the long term, is what we are discussing, because eventually you will be the distributor who will have to reach out to various places, and as opposed to having one showroom which is now showing a certain segment of customers, you could actually be an online service that could have touch points but reach a variety of customers. Do you think that will be
we should find a niche place in the online world where I don't know how many people will be, like, I don't know if it will be too cluttered online, but the presence online and that expertise online, I think will be super important to make sure that I believe dealership can't just be a touch and feel product. Dealership, the concept came because we were a part of educating the customer and then giving the touch and feel. We have to win back a part of that, getting that inquiry and getting online and getting them to our showroom. If we are not part of that cycle, there will come a point that we are not relevant anymore, is what I feel. So we have to be there online. We have to find our way out.
While we're talking about this millennial consumer, he's not changed that much yet, is what we are saying. He's millennial in his mind, but he still wants to go out and have that end touch feel at the showroom, and the showroom's here to stay for
and basically test drive, that is very important.
Test drive is very well. I can't review a car without
Test
driving
drive,
it.
and again the customer going in the showroom and upfrontly talking regarding discounts, bargaining regarding the discounts. So he has to go to the showrooms.
But do you think that then maybe online is a better way? Because today when you have an Amazon or whoever it is, then they don't, there's a standard discount that happens online, and then there's no left or right or center. So do you think that this will also change and that there will be one standardization of, because just now dealers contend with each other as to how much each one is discounting. So do you think that eventually when the online platform comes, this might become a standardized issue?
Yes, that day will come. Soon that day will come.
Yeah. Do you see he's looking doubtful?
No, that has happened in mobile now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think when you're crossing the line on the final deal, a visit to the showroom is probably, in order. So
I'm worried about a world where an Amazon ties up with a Indus Go or a Zoom car, and the test drive part is done, because see, these kind of self-drive firms will have all models, all variants, automatic, manuals, everything, and if there's a model that they can work out like that without the dealership, so they get the physical aspect and the good deal. We have seen every other industry online is giving much better. They burn money to give a better deal. So if they come out a time where these guys start giving better deals than the dealership back end,
So are we looking at a changing dealership or not?
No, this is too, nothing has been, or I might be giving ideas, I don't know.
Yeah, but they're disruptions every day, and who knows? One day you'll have somebody, tie up with each and every manufacturer and
But that's what I'm
dole
saying.
out
Has
discounts
this
online.
time that's been really hard on you guys made you think or rethink the way that you need to sell cars, and how different is it going to be is what is the consumer wants to know.
No, I think in future, if 3D printing and all starts, maybe a showroom can be converted into just a 3D printing. You give a order, print a car, give a electric car. That might happen.
Electric mobility, that's
Yeah.
interesting. We've had that discussion almost everywhere. As dealerships, is that a worrying thought? If electric mobility is there, I mean, what happens to a lot of the service and spares and parts, and which is a large part of your revenue model, right?
Yeah, already we are facing that. See, because of the improvement in the product, the spare parts consumption is not increasing with the number of vehicles we sell every year.
Roads are getting better nowadays. The manufacturers are getting good vehicles. So only the regular service checkups are there in the. So that is not today's time, not a big revenue generating source. Workshop is not a big generating source.
So do you think that manufacturers need to actually focus on reducing dealerships and giving them larger areas to control?
Yes, definitely.
And then that might bring about a whole renewal in the way things are happening currently, because there are too many people fighting each other to go out and sell.
In today's time, there is over dealerization, madam. So manufacturer has to think about that.
But isn't it sort of chicken and egg story, because manufacturer has to think about himself, consumer is saying jitna closer showroom, that's how much happier I am, right?
Yes,
however
correct.
closer the dealership is. So where does a manufacturer go in this balance? And I asked this question earlier, do you think that some kind of regulation needs to come in over here? Maybe from the manufacturer, maybe from, the body that looks after dealerships, that, certain amount of area or certain amount should definitely be given for a dealer to be viable, because in the last year when a tough time has come, we have seen many dealers not being able to sustain themselves for the very reason. Yes, some older dealers have been able to survive and they have been able to sustain themselves because they understand the business. But newer people who come into the business can't deal with this, especially when there's a hard time.
As dealers, we'd love a regulation like that, but who's going to bell the cat? Yeah. So it's a question of that. I mean, there's even though grocers have a huge lobby, for instance, didn't stop Amazon from coming in, didn't stop Walmart from coming in. So when you draw a parallel with that, I mean, it's all demand and supply. So at the end of the day, I would love, like I said, I would love a regulation to come in, but I don't think that would happen.
So demand is shrinking. We've seen it in the last year. I don't know what your outlook on the next year is, but a lot of people are still feeling like it's going to be a year of sustenance as opposed to a year of getting back on track.
But that's economy, right? Like it has. If economy is going to bounce back, the demand will come back. I don't think so. It is because of the people moving their preference towards buying the car, towards shared mobility is the reason for this downturn at all. If that was the case, rural market shouldn't have affected, right? It should have been restricted to the Bangalores or the Delhis or the Bombays, whereas every small town, when you look at all India figures, every small town except few pockets, everywhere it's affected. So I feel this downturn is based on the economy. So when economy is going to pick up, I don't know when economy is going to pick up, the car sales is going to come back.
So much as our government would like us to believe the millennial consumer is the cause, it's not the millennium. So it's not. So what you're saying,
but
and
isn't BS6 a big cause?
BS6. So
BS6, electrical vehicles, a lot of confusion in the consumers.
Lot of confusion.
Yeah, I agree with you that I think it's more the confusion in the consumer's mind, the economy for one, the liquidity crunch I think that we've seen, especially for two-wheeler segments. I think liquidity crunch is a big part of
NBFC failures.
Yes, NBFC failure.
October was the only one month when sales went up, and that was also because it was festive, and the discounts were high. Yeah. So these are the factors.
How was November, December?
November was really bad for us.
And what's the trend in December?
December is so far looking okay.
But then is this not the time that people come out and buy cars, because year-end discounts are happening, and the next year's coming, and even though you're saying BS6, there's the flip side to BS6, where just now is the greatest time to buy a BS4 car, possibly the
In fact,
diesels.
in BS6, the prices are going to go up.
Exactly.
No, but the lot of consumers, what they think is BS4 cars cannot be used after some time.
Yes, this confusion is
That
there.
confusion is there in
But
the mindset.
at dealerships, are you not working to clear that confusion in the
we are,
consumer's
we are,
mind?
we are,
working.
we are telling.
But the consumer is still not biting that bait and thinking that the dealer's just wanting to sell their product.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people has worked. I think, yeah, of course, regulation and government has to come in and explain that you will still be able to run your car, the scrappage policy. Again, scrappage policy is another area where there's so much confusion that everybody doesn't know where to go. So as dealers, is that also a problem? Because there's going to be a lot of stock. There's going to be a lot of things that you have to worry about. BS4 stock, how are you dealing with all of that?
Trying to sell to the best extent possible, but yeah, discounts, etc.
In
And,
that aspect, what Maruti has done, I think only Maruti has done in that perspective, they've made sure that 80-90% of their stock, they're done with BS6 introduction before November, December. So we are not going to get any more BS4 stock. We have 3-4 months to sell all that stock. So we're very
From
comfortable.
January onwards, I think all the manufacturers will start billing in BS6 version.
But will you be getting BS4 vehicles in January, February, March?
No.
I don't think
No.
they are going to stop that.
Most of the companies are stopping in December.
So I think for the consumer, this is the best time actually to go out and buy because they'll be getting a fantastic deal. A lot of the diesels will not be available very soon. So this is the time for them to buy. Is it also the same scenario in two-wheelers? I mean, I know we're talking four-wheelers here,
Same here in two-wheelers also. This is the best time, ma'am.
This is the best time to
The
buy.
problem
The
is
best
a lot of consumers are thinking that how it happened in March. It was almost 30% discount. They are thinking that in March
yeah.
all the companies will give 20-30% discount. That
So
they are expecting.
You think
Like that
consumers are
happened last 2 years
holding,
back.
so you feel that the consumers are now holding back till year end and waiting for March to come and will we see a spurt in buying? Do you think that that's going to be the same?
Yes, they might be doing that, but they are doing a big mistake because in BS6, a two-wheeler will cost more than BS4, 10 to 15,000 rupees more than
Yeah,
BS4.
it will be expensive.
10% at
will
least.
be
yeah.
10%, yeah.
So yeah, there is going to be a price hike. Consumers are not really coming out to showrooms to buy cars. The millennial is changing the way he perceives mobility. Lot of change and churn in the Indian market. Last wrap-up question for you is the outlook for 2020. Strong, bleak, year of sustenance. What do you
Year
think?
of sustenance, you can say.
Year of sustenance and new models definitely will sell.
$1 million question, but yeah, I think year of sustenance.
For me, it's all economics, right? I'm not an economics student, so if economics pick up, then. But I think all of the dealer network has taken a shock, and they all is very conservative in terms of their cost and all that. So if something good happens, we all there to take the best out of it. So
Great. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a really enlightening discussion. Well, it's still going to be tough times ahead, but that for you, dear consumers, means it's always good to walk into a showroom and buy a car so you can put smiles on their faces. Thanks for watching Autocar Dialogues.